Hello,
Hey guys,
how are you?
doing well. Very
I'm
blessed. How are you?
so happy to have you here in my life for the first time.
It's great to be with you and great to be with all of your followers and everybody watching. So nice
Thank
to
you
meet you all.
so much. Thank you so much for accepting to be with me in this live. It's the first time I have an American teacher
Okay,
in my life.
awesome.
Yeah, and it's a great pleasure for me actually because the people here have got many questions for you, and I
Perfect.
personally actually have questions for you. So
Oh,
I would like
awesome.
to start. Yeah, the people here, they don't know you, maybe. So maybe you would like to introduce yourself in like some few words.
Okay. Yes, I'm Josh from New Jersey in America. It's a small state near New York. Um, and so I got my bachelor's degree in teaching English and then a few certificates in teaching English. And then now I'm doing my master's degree in teaching English. So lots of teaching English.
That's
And then I taught, yeah. And then I
that's
had the
great.
opportunity to actually first I got to go to your country. I went to Morocco for 2 months
That's great.
and did an internship there teaching English, and then went to Saudi Arabia and taught English for almost 3 years in Dammam. So
That's great. Awesome. Which city did you work in Morocco?
in Agadir.
Ah, you worked in Agadir. How did you
Yeah,
like it?
it was great. It was really cool. I really enjoyed my time there. A lot of nice people, and it was very
Yeah.
relaxed, calm
You,
place.
you,
I loved.
you
It was
taught
very
there for how
beautiful.
many years?
I was just there for an internship for just 2 months.
Yeah, so you've been there for 2 months. That's great. And
Yeah.
then you moved to Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I came back to America first and then went over to Saudi Arabia. So I was there for about 3 years and then just came back to America to do a master's degree.
That's
So
wonderful, actually. It's wonderful.
just
Now
an experience.
you are in the United States.
Yeah, in New Jersey
No,
right now.
that's great. So I would like to ask you, like, the first thing I would like to know is how was the job of teaching in Saudi Arabia? I see that you're learning some Arabic, aren't you?
Yeah, so while I was there, I had the opportunity to, in my free time, learn Arabic.
Yeah,
فالحمد لله تعلمت بعض العربي مو 100% بس
that's great.
أحسن من قبل. So,
So you can speak
so
some
praise God.
Arabic, or you can understand Arabic. Arabs, you understand what they say?
Yeah, I have about an intermediate level of Arabic now.
Hmm.
So I can normally get the main idea, and depending on the topic and the dialect, I can understand. So some dialects, dialect lahja, some of them are easier than others for me. So
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen. I've had a look on your profile, and I've seen that you are kind of interested uh, in uh, in the Arabic language. So you're trying
mhm,
to give some tips or some lessons or some few tips about learning the language with translation with Arabic. So who
mhm.
make the Arabic translation for you? Do you make it yourself?
Yeah, some of them, it depends. A lot of them I do by myself. I'll use like some dictionaries and stuff like that online to help. Um, and then sometimes I'll send it to a friend and ask them if they can check it first, just to make sure it's
Well, you
okay.
can send to me. You can send to me anytime. I can check for
Thank
you.
you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
no
that. That's
problem.
helpful because I know I've made some
So
mistakes before. So
sure, sure, yeah. So is it hard to teach in other country uh, apart from the United States? How did you find teaching in Saudi Arabia? Was it a challenge for you? It was just like easy task.
yeah, it depends on the person. For me, I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it, and I thought it was really cool. There were other people, like there was some other teachers who it was a little harder for to get used to the different culture. But I think a big thing is just that God's helped me to be very content, and so I'm pretty easygoing. That I don't need it to be a specific way. But for some people, if they want everything to be the American
Yeah,
way, then it's
yeah,
difficult because
yeah.
there's
They're
just
gonna
less.
suffer.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little bit of a different culture, like different view of time and preparation and stuff. So yeah, you just have to be willing to adapt. Same thing, an Arab coming to America.
the
If you
same thing.
go
Yeah,
in thinking like it needs to be the Arab way and Americans are wrong, you'll never adjust. So
yeah.
you have to be
So you need to
open-minded.
be prepared to this. You need to be prepared that you're going to a different culture. You're going to meet different people, people who have different culture and different perspective. And of course, they see life in a different way. So we need to adapt ourselves to it. Yeah, that's great. So Josh, the people here, they've got some questions, but I'm going to start with my questions actually. Okay. So my first question to you. People now, they want to start learning the language. English is like everywhere in the world. People, they want to learn English. It's like, especially the last 10 years, let's say. English is dominating. English is everywhere. Okay, so more people, they want to study this language. But the problem is, most of them, they fail in the beginning, or they don't start at all. So saying that, well, learning English is difficult, we didn't get the right way, we are suffering, can you help us? So how can we get used to this new language and learn it?
Yeah, I would say first thing is to be okay with making mistakes and failing at times. You will. That's a normal part. And so I think it's helpful to think about when you learn a new language, it's kind of like you become a baby again. You're a baby. And so the same way that when you're a baby, it's okay if you make mistakes, you need to think that way. Laugh at yourself. If you are so worried about saying everything perfect, you'll never get any better. We only get better through making mistakes. After you have that, I think the second most important thing is that you set a plan. You need to plan. A lot of people just say, I want to learn English, but then they don't do anything. It doesn't happen easily. It's not easy to learn language.
They start and then they stop.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because we're naturally lazy as humans, I think.
Yes.
And so we get distracted by other things. And so I think it's really, really important at the beginning to set how much time you want to spend every day learning English. So write down on a piece of paper, every day I'm going to spend 1 hour learning English, or 30 minutes learning English.
Yes.
And say, I will not go to sleep until I have spent that 30 minutes or that 1 hour. That is a really, really, really important foundation there. Otherwise, you'll just get distracted and you won't do it. So you need to set that. We say in English, set that in stone. How would you say that in Arabic? Do you use that same idiom, set in stone?
What is it? What is the idiom?
To set something in stone, like you need to write it down where there's no way of changing it. It needs to be firm.
To say something like we have an idiom in classical Arabic. It says, but it's about learning something in childhood.
Okay.
التعلم في الصغر كالنقش على الحجر. So it's like when you learn something in your childhood, it's like you are writing on stone. So if you write on stone, it will never be erased.
Okay. Yeah. So we have that. Yeah, we have that idea, but maybe for like in your whole life. You write it down in a way where it's like on a stone. It doesn't get erased. So you need to set it in stone to say, I will study for 1 hour a day. I can't change that. Because there will be a lot of things that will try to take your attention away. And try to, it'll be very easy to not do it. So you really need those two as a first foundation. Did you want to say anything about those before the next?
How do we develop this habit of studying every day, studying the language every day? Is there a way, is there something we can do in order to establish this habit, to make it like part of our everyday life?
Yeah, like I said, I think one big thing is just like to set your bedtime as like a boundary, to say that I cannot go to sleep until I have done this. Write that. You can write it on your bed, leave something on your bed, write it on your wall, something like that. Say, did you study English today? So that way it's part of your day.
To-do list or something?
Yeah, like that. Anything like that, just to say this needs to happen every day. The next part of that is then saying, what am I going to do for that? But you need that first part of just saying, I will do it. The next part then, I think, would be important to divide it depending on how much time you have. We easily get bored with things. So I think it's good to say 30 minutes for one skill. One of the skills meaning listening, speaking, reading, writing.
Right. Yes.
Then also vocabulary and grammar.
Sure.
And so to say, like, today is Monday, I have 1 hour to study English, so I'm going to do 30 minutes of reading, 30 minutes of listening. Then go through and find your best resources for those. So try to find like 2 or 3 reading resources you really like, and 2 or 3 listening ones you really like. Speaking can be a little harder, but there are some ways you can do that with recording your own voice. And so try to set that in stone, where write it out. You need to write a plan. Make a calendar and say, Monday, I need to do this. So that you wake up, you look there, you know what to do. Otherwise, you'll say, I don't really know, and you won't do it. So, yeah, so that's, I think, really important.
So you need to make things clear. What are you going to do today? It's like, today I'm going to read this, or I'm going to listen to this. So if you make things clear, your mind will be fixed to that, okay? Or your mind will never be rested until it has done that job. So some people, they worry too much about the accent. They say, well, I've learned English. I've learned enough English to communicate, to answer, and ask everything. So I can understand, I can speak, but I'm not satisfied with my accent. I see that the English I speak does not look like the native English. So am I bad? Am I in the wrong path? Or so what do you think about this issue of the accent? Is it important to have accents?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the most important thing is that you are understandable, that people can understand you. You don't need to have a perfect accent. It's almost impossible to have a perfect accent in a second language if you don't learn it when you're a kid. So just be okay with that. Like, there are most people who are living in America who've been here for 30 years, but they came after high school. They still have an accent, and that's okay, as long as you can be understood. So the more pronunciation errors you have, the harder it can be to understand. It's more about which problems you have. So some things, if you just have like a vowel you can't say exactly right, but you get very close, that's no problem. But if you're completely off, like, changing one vowel can change the entire meaning. So as long as you get the important ones, and people can understand you, don't worry about being perfect. You won't be.
But actually, we should work on our pronunciation. I don't know. People are confused about the accent and pronunciation. Can you clarify this thing to us? Accent and pronunciation. We may get a bad accent, but still we can pronounce the words in a correct way.
Yeah. So pronunciation would be like how to say a word. Just individual words. Like one word. How do I say that word? That's the pronunciation. Accent would be like how people say a lot of words as a whole. So there would be the British accent, that they would talk a little more like this. It's different pronunciation for a lot of words like that.
Intonation and...
Exactly. So accents is a lot of different words together. Pronunciation, individual words. And so you should choose an accent that you want to sound like. That if you're trying to switch between like a Southern American accent then a British accent, you'll be confused.
You'll be confused. So you need to focus on one specific accent. Yeah,
that's the best way. So that you can try to listen to other ones so you can understand, but try to copy and imitate one.
Yeah, so copying and imitating, what we call shadowing, it's really useful. So it's a very useful method, and I always advise my students to apply shadowing. It's very important. So I would like to ask you another question about this. People now are asking, well, there are many ways we can learn English, and many resources now online. So if you go to YouTube, you find like thousands of channels. All of them, they offer like learning English, and they make videos and stuff like that. If you go to the App Store or Play Store, you find like thousands of applications like offering learning English for free. Some of them for free, some of them are paid. People, they get confused and they say, well, I don't know how to start. Like, I've got many resources, but the problem is I don't know which one is the correct one. What do you advise people to do in this situation?
Yeah, I would say, going back to what we said before, of have that set amount for how much reading you're going to do every day, how much listening every day. Stick with that, and then try out a few different ones. So week one of your learning, try out 4 or 5 different reading websites, and see which one you like the most, which one is most helpful for you, because everybody is different. There's not one that is better than all the others. Everybody is different. So try different ones. And make a note. After you finish each one, write from 1 to 10. How good was it? 1, it was terrible. 10, it was really good. At the end of 1 week or 2 weeks, look at the highest rated ones, and continue to use those ones. Zone in on those. Because, and I think another important thing is that something is better than nothing. Sometimes we spend so much time trying to find the perfect one that we do nothing. And that doesn't help at all. So it's better to use an okay application, an okay website, than to not use one at all. But try to do that where you rate them, you see which ones you like the most, and you'll find which ones work for you. Everybody's different.
Yeah, so this also works. I think this really works, because after all, we don't learn the same way. Maybe something will work for me, but it may not work for others.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we learn in a different way. We don't learn like in the same way. So if this application works for someone, it doesn't mean that it will work for everybody. So we need to find that way. I tend to tell my students that you should find your way, find the perfect way for you, find what suits you. And and before that, people they used to ask me when I tell them go and listen to stuffs in English so that you get so that your ear get used to the language and stuff like that. They tell me, well, we don't know what to listen to. So I tend to advise them, like, go and listen to something that is part of your interest. Like, for example, if you're interested in football, if you're interested in fashion, so go and watch something or listen to something related to your interest. This way, you will enjoy the learning. So you will not be bored. Okay?
Yeah, that's a good point. Just kind of with that, I think, like, right now, maybe you guys can say in the comments, how many minutes or hours do you spend listening to or reading the news every day? Right now, with everything going on, with the coronavirus and all the stuff, how much time do you spend?
So write in the comments how many minutes, hours you spend listening to the news. You listen to the news. Everybody listens to the news. Everyone wants to know what is going on in the world. Not just the coronavirus, but there are many events now in the United States, like something related to people protesting and many things. So of course they do, I'm sure. Yeah,
I think everybody right now. Maybe you didn't 2 months ago, but now I think everybody's watching the news some. If you do that in English, you get English practice too. That would be really helpful. We got 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour.
1 hour, 1 hour.
Yeah, 1 hour, and so think about that. If you change it to 1 hour of learning English by reading the news, that's a really great way, or listening to it, because you're motivated. You want to learn. You're trying to get something from it. And that's a great way to combine those together. Somebody 0 minutes. There you go. So you don't know what's going on. That's okay. But just find something like that. Like, I think right now, 4 hours. There you go. Right now, news is a big thing. So if you're watching the news now, switch that to English. And if you don't watch the news, find something else that you watch. Do you watch football, like you said? Anything that you like, just change it to English. Change your phone settings to English. All those little things make a difference. Yeah,
this is what we call, like, surround yourself with English. Surround yourself. It's like everywhere you look, there is English. Like everything, the TV, the phone, your phone, everything in English. So this way, you will feel that you are surrounded by the language, and you'll get the chance to get exposed to the language more. Okay. This is actually the problem. I teach in some language centers, and I got students. These students, they come to me and they say, well, we want to learn English. And so can we learn it in like 3 months? Can we speak English in 3 months? Well, I'll tell them it depends on you. If you are willing to spend more hours, like they study 1 hour and a half in the center with me. So when they go home, they just like sleep. So would you expect to learn English this way? Of course not. So if you don't double the effort, if you don't like work on yourself, like when you go home, like listen to things, try to write, try to practice with your mom, with your dad, with your sister, anyone who can speak English, try to practice with him, speak, do an effort. Don't just depend on the center where you go. Centers and language schools, they will not give you much. It's not a big deal, right?
Yeah, I think they are very helpful, but that's one part of it, right?
Yeah,
like you need that, but you need to supplement it or add to it studying on your own. If you only study on your own, it's limited. If you only go to a center, it's limited. Put it together, like it's amazing.
Yeah, it will be amazing, and you will boost your learning process. You will learn in a very quick way. So everyone, Josh, this is very tiring actually for me, a very tiring question. Everyone wants to learn English quickly. So I named my channel Quick English. And the people, they come to me and they say, well, you named your channel or your account Quick English, so how can we learn English quickly? Actually, I give them some tips, but still this is not enough for them. Everyone wants to learn the language quickly. Does this help the English learners to want to learn the language quickly, or we should be patient? We should like take time and relax with the language. What do you think?
Yeah, both. I'd say be patient and strive and really push for as much as you can. It takes time to learn a language, but it can be quick compared to something else. So learning English in 2 years is quick compared to learning it in 10 years. That's quick English. And so you need to have a long-term plan. Think about how long it took you to learn your first language. When we were 6 years old, we could kind of speak. Even then, we had a lot of parts that were missing. Maybe when we were 12 years old, we got pretty good at it. It takes time. And so we need to be patient, but that patience can be an excuse to be lazy. So that's why it is a good challenge to say, I want to go quickly by saying, I want to spend as much time as I can every day, because I think the biggest factor, the biggest point in it is how much time you spend in the language. If you spend in 1 year, if you spend 2,000 hours learning English, or you spend 1,000 hours learning English, that will be the difference. And so doing 1 hour today, 2 hours tomorrow, that all adds up together in the end. And so that's the most important thing. Is just, if you want to learn quickly, spend more hours every day. But don't think that quick means 1 month. People put programs where they say learn English in 2 months. That's not true. I don't know what English you're learning.
They exaggerate, just to catch your attention. That's what they do.
To get your money.
No, don't believe them. So this question is repeated also. I get it most of the time. Which one is better, British or American accent? I shouldn't be asking you this question actually, but people, they would expect one answer from you. You will say that that the American is better. What do you think? Or they say, would they say which one is the easiest one? Is easier? Should we study American? We find it like easy, or should we study British? Which one should we choose for us as beginners?
That is a good question. Like I'll say from a friend that I have who he's British, what he said. He's British, and he said that he recommends that students learn American English. Because there are a lot of parts that are easier. And one thing that's important that he said is in Britain, every city has a different accent. He said that for him, like I don't know for sure, but he said for him, he can he meets somebody, he knows which city they're from. And so there's not one British accent. It's very different. In America, there are still different accents, but they're a lot closer. Like when I meet somebody, unless they're from the South, I normally don't know where they're from. I don't know if you're from New Jersey, from California, like you could be anywhere. It's a lot closer, the American accent. And so you're more likely to hear things that are similar. And so I think that's a big part. And then also just movies and songs. There's a lot more movies and music in English, or in American English than British English.
And I have a remark. Like even the British singers, when they sing, you don't feel that you can't detect that. You can't say that they're British. You don't feel that.
Exactly.
I don't know why. Why do you think?
I don't know. It is strange. I've noticed the same thing. That to me it sounds American, but I don't know.
It doesn't sound like American, but you can't say that he's British when he sings. Yeah, you can't say that.
Yeah.
So this is the American is easier because in America you don't find like different accents across the United States, like they're close to each other, so you can.
Yeah. One other thing I'll say is that the American English, like they said, there's the Cockney, the Irish, Scottish. All those are very like the Scottish accent. That's considered British. When I start talking with somebody in a Scottish accent, if I'm not ready, it takes my ears a minute to adjust because it's very different, very strong.
Like a new system to your ears.
Yeah. And so it's great, but it's different. But yeah, one other thing that's helpful with the American accent is the spelling. I don't know if you've seen like the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Merriam-Webster was an American, or he came to America, and he was like kind of started that dictionary, and he saw a lot of words that just had really weird spelling. He was like, why do we have an O, or why do we have a U in color? And so in his dictionary, he made words, he spelt words more like they sounded. So he took out the U. He says C-O-L-O-R.
So we don't pronounce the U, so why should we put it there?
Exactly. And so he tried to make English spelling easier, and American English took a lot of those words and kept that spelling. And so there are a lot of times where American spelling is a little easier than British spelling. It's still hard, but it's easier. So,
I think this happens for a reason, because the British English is like got inspired, or the British English got inspired from French, I guess. Like if you take the word favorites, so the word favorite, favori, it's like in French it's written with O-U. So that's why they.
Oh yeah, you know some French then, right? From Morocco.
Yeah, sure. We speak French in Morocco.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. So we study French. We study French from our childhood. We study French from like 8 years old. We start French.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to be better in French, actually.
That's what I was amazed.
Let me tell you something. The people here in Morocco, they love English. They love English so much, and most of them want to learn the language. And I've seen many students, my students, they don't want to study French. They want to study English. They tell me, well, French, we don't like French. French is old-fashioned. The world is speaking English now, so we want English. We don't want French. Yeah, that's a remark. But have you anything to say about the Moroccan students? Did you get the chance to like deal with them or come to some conclusions about the Moroccan students? Yeah,
I really love the Moroccan students. Some of them I still talk with. That was 5 years ago or so, and I still talk with them. Keep in touch with them with a few. So I enjoyed them. I was amazed at how many languages many Moroccans knew. A lot of them, they knew the classical Arabic. Then they knew the Moroccan Arabic, which is very different.
Yes.
They knew French. They knew English. And they knew like the Berber languages, like the Amazigh.
The Amazigh language,
Spanish.
Especially in the region where you used to teach, the Agadir. It's like the people there, they speak Berber language. They speak Amazigh.
Yeah. So I was amazed. I was like, you guys are awesome.
Yeah. And what do you think about this? Some teachers, some American teachers, they come here to Morocco and they say, well, the Moroccan, they have a pretty good accent in English, like better than the Gulf countries. What do you think? Do you agree with that?
I don't know. I don't know if I could compare the two. I can't really think of like which one would have a better accent in general. Like I think there are different difficulties in each one.
There are some sounds that are difficult for the people there in Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. Like the sound P. Didn't you struggle with that? The sound P and B.
Yeah, that's the one that a lot of because it's not in Arabic. So it's like me trying to learn like the Saad. Like we don't use it in English, so it's hard. I guess that probably does help Moroccans that you have the French influence, so you have some more of those sounds that are like available and around there and have come into the the kind of the Moroccan dialect, the Darija. So.
Yeah, that's good. So I've got another question for you. The people are asking, we've discussed this topic in a previous live, learning English through movies. Some people, they are like a little bit lazy, so they don't want to pick up a book, and instead they want just to go and watch movies. Do you recommend that? Do you see that this is a way from which we can benefit? We can learn English?
Yeah, you definitely can, depending on how you use it. So, for example, if you watch a movie in English with Arabic subtitles and you just focus on the images and the Arabic subtitles the whole time, you won't learn anything, or you'll learn very little.
Yeah. So the first rule, the first rule, guys, they're listening. The first rule, note it down. Don't use Arabic subtitles. Yes.
Yeah, I think the most important thing with it is how focused are you on, like how engaged is your mind? How focused are you? If you're falling asleep, you won't learn as much. But if your mind is really fully there, you're thinking about the words, you'll learn a lot. And so you probably need a balance of how to do it, because there's a way to learn with movies that is a lot more helpful, but it's a lot harder and less fun. And so that is kind of what you mentioned before with some shadowing, and kind of a version of that I think is really, really helpful. It's not as fun, but if you really want to learn, it will help you. Is if you take a movie or a clip and just start with do 1 minute at a time. Listen to the minute, then summarize that minute. Then go back to the beginning.
Watch in chunks.
Yeah. But then go back to it and do one sentence at a time. Listen to a sentence, then repeat it. Try to say the sentence exactly. If you don't get it perfectly, listen again and again and again until you get it perfectly. And this is where you can use the Arabic subtitles if you don't understand something, but then after, use the English subtitles. And so if you do it that way, it helps a whole lot more. Where your mind is engaged, you're repeating everything. It helps you with grammar, with speaking, with listening, with pronunciation, kind of everything. So I definitely recommend that. It's not as much fun. So maybe do that for 5 minutes and then just sit back and enjoy the movie for 20 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Then 5 minutes. So it's kind of like sprinting.
Yeah, I see. I see. When we spoke in private, you asked me if you want to translate for your followers. You want to translate in Arabic, I speak, and then you translate. And I said, well, the students here or the followers here are used to me speaking English in my lives. And this actually drives us to another question, which is randomly asked. Some students, should we use Arabic to learn English? Or should we, it can be applied to all the languages. Is learning a language, a new language, with your mother tongue, using your mother tongue, using translation, for example. Some people, they like to use translation a lot. So they say, well, if I translate, this is easier for me. So I will learn. Is it a good way in your opinion? For example, me as a teacher, do you think I should use Arabic with my students? They're Moroccan, they understand Arabic. So should I use Arabic, or should I speak English most of the time so that they can get more words, they can get exposed to English more, and they practice? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's good to use English as much as possible. It depends on the students. Like there are some students who, if you don't use any Arabic, they get scared and then they don't learn. If students are like that, then you need to kind of give them a little of the Arabic so that they can feel comfortable. But yeah, the best thing is to be able to speak English first. Like in my classes when I teach, with lower level students, with higher level students, I try to never use Arabic except for one word. But for lower level students, I try to avoid, I try to not use Arabic too much. If I do, I try to say it in English, then in Arabic, then in English again. So 2 times in English, because you need to have more and more English. I just made a post, or put a post on my wall about vocabulary, with learning vocabulary in English versus in Arabic. The goal is to connect the best thing is to connect the idea with an image. Connect that word with an image. in your head. That's even faster than English and in Arabic. And so sometimes to help you get that image, you need to use an English definition. And if that doesn't work, then you go to an Arabic translation. But then you want to go back to the picture so that when you go in your next conversation, you don't need to translate, because translation takes time.
Takes time, yeah.
And English and Arabic, you can't directly translate. So that's why you have a lot of problems where people say, like, I went there before 5 years, because you say it that way in Arabic, but we don't say that in English. We say 4 years ago. And so things like that, if you directly translate, you run into problems.
Yeah,
but it can be a stepping stone.
Yeah, sometimes you will not be understood by native speaker. They will not understand you. You think that you're speaking English, but you will not be understood.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. And as you said, translating is one of the problems that sometimes when we want to speak, it's like our minds work this way. So our minds they want to translate things before speaking. So I see my all the time go to my so if in my opinion, if we learn English with English, it is better. Okay, it's another question is being asked a lot of times by beginners is when we start to learn English, and this question is asked by Khadija Ozarki. Khadija, she's asking this question. In your opinion, are we focus on the grammar? Yeah. So she's saying that grammar, the problem of grammar, some people they get frustrated studying grammar at the beginning. Well, should we like forget about grammar when we are beginners and start like some different activities, like focus on listening or other stuffs? Because some students they stop because they find grammar like difficult, or because they fail in some grammar tests or something. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I have a picture here. If I have with me. Yeah, like grammar is an important part, but it's not the only thing. So yeah, I don't know if you guys can see this here with the Hulk. I think this is a helpful way of thinking about it. Grammar is one part, like your mind, but you have the vocabulary, your six-pack, speaking, you have the writing, reading, listening. All of these are important. Yeah. If you only focus on grammar, you're missing something. It's not going to be good enough. But if you never focus on grammar, you'll be missing something. And so it needs to be a part, but this is 1/6 of the equation here. And so you need to have all these together. So I would say grammar is important, but it shouldn't be the main focus. And another thing for like more advanced learners is that, because some people, I think that is a common thing where people say, I don't need grammar. Grammar is important because the more grammar mistakes you make, the harder it is for people to understand you. If you don't make, like, native speakers make grammar mistakes, and if you make those grammar mistakes, it's okay, because they're normal. But if you make different grammar mistakes, it's hard to understand. So,
but like when you make mistakes in tenses?
I think with that, not as much, but like things, for example, a really common one is that we would often say, like, me and John are going to the beach. It should be John and I. That's the correct grammar. But if you say me and John, that's normal. So that's a grammar point that it's not important.
It's not important.
But other ones, like if you...
Also, you Americans, you say a lot, he don't, she don't.
Yeah, that's a certain dialect. That would be, like in the Southern dialect and the, what's called like the African American vernacular, they would do that more often. The general American accent wouldn't do that, but those dialects would. So, and I would recommend going for the general just because it's more common. Not that the other ones aren't bad, but they're just not as common. So go for the most common one.
Sure, it happens actually because some students some of the students they are smart and they study grammar a lot, but when it comes to speaking, they can't speak because they focus too much on grammar. So they don't have vocabulary. They don't know anything about other things. So they can't speak. They can't communicate. This is a problem.
Exactly. So it's like you have a head, but you don't have arms or legs. That's not helpful.
Yeah.
You need all of it.
So let me check the questions of here. The questions. Just have a question. Yeah, go ahead, guys. If you have some questions, just put them in the comments. We will save the live. Yeah, I will save the live. Don't worry. You can watch it later. I can speak English, but I hate grammar. I hate to learn grammar. Yeah, we don't hate learning grammar, please.
Yeah, think of grammar as a tool to help you communicate.
Yeah, sure.
So sometimes if you think about like going to the gym and exercising, like the Hulk here, when he goes and exercises, there are certain exercises that are not as fun. Maybe one for your biceps is like really painful, but you say, I need this to be like, to have a whole body that's together. So just think about it that way. I don't like this, but I know it's important if I combine it with everything else.
Some people, they get shy, Josh. They get shy from speaking because they have a bad accent. What do you say to them? They say, well, if I speak, they will laugh, or they will like say something about me, so I wouldn't speak because I don't have a good accent.
Yeah, I would say if they laugh at you, there's a problem with them.
Not with you.
Yeah, they're a bigger problem. Most people, like most Americans, if you have an accent, like if they can understand you, that's no problem. The only people who would like laugh would be people who you don't care what they think about you. They have some issues they need to work out. So most people are okay with it. Like I said, there are a lot of immigrants in America and in Britain, a lot of people who've come from other countries. It's a normal thing to be in conversations with people who have accents. It's not a strange thing. You're not the only one. So think about that. The person you're talking with has heard a lot of other people who have accents that are worse than yours. Another thing that's really helpful.
The students, sometimes they just, when they hear someone in the class, I'm speaking about in the class, when they hear someone speaking in a good accent, they say underestimate themselves. They say, well, we are poor in the language. We shouldn't speak. Why? Because there is someone else who spoke better than us. So if we speak, maybe we will look like ridiculous just because our accent is not that great. And I don't know how to fix that. As a teacher, I don't know how to encourage them to speak because it's really hard. Some students, when they write, they're excellent. I have students now, they write like really good essays. Students of 16, 17 years old, they write in a good way. But when it comes to speaking, they get stuck. They can't speak. I don't know how to fix that, actually, as a teacher. I want you to advise me, actually.
I think what can be helpful is doing pair work, of splitting them into groups of two, because it's scary even for like Native American speakers or native speakers of American English to speak in front of a group. Some people, they're afraid of that, even if they know the language perfectly. But when you're talking with one other person, you feel a lot more comfortable. So I recommend that, of try to split them into groups where they're only speaking to one person, and then they feel a little more okay. And the same thing for you guys if you're practicing on your own, is to think about that. Like one thing I've recommended before is talk to a mirror. Practice in front of a mirror so you get used to like seeing somebody look at you while you're making mistakes, and it will start to feel more normal. You need to be okay with it, because if you're afraid of it, you'll never get better. Your goal should be saying, not comparing myself to somebody else, comparing myself to where I was 3 months ago. Am I better than I was 3 months ago? That should be the more important thing. Yeah,
that's great. Iman is saying, I can't control grammar in my speaking. When she speaks, she can't control the grammar. She knows the rule. She can answer all the questions, all the exercises like correctly, but when it comes to speaking, she can't apply what she has learned in the.
Yeah, that's a very normal thing. It's kind of going from the head to the mouth. You get good at something when you do it, and so if you never speak with the correct grammar, you never get good at it. You need to just get more practice with it. So it's kind of like going back to the gym example, because I think there's a lot of similarities. If you studied everything there is to know about working out and exercising, but you never went to the gym and did it, you would have a really hard time when you go to do it. Now you have that knowledge. Now just try it. And the more you do it, it'll become easier and easier and easier. It's just kind of like you have to get it out there. So just practice more and it will become easier. When you say something, when you use the correct grammar 100 times in your speech, it'll be a lot easier than when you used it one time. So just use it more, and it'll become easier.
Yeah, so that's great. Someone else is asking. We learn vocabulary. We learn a lot of vocabulary. We memorize or we learn them our way. But the problem is the same thing for grammar. When we speak, we can't use these vocabulary. We just like forget them, or we don't know how to put them in context.
Yeah,
we don't.
That's a good point.
So how can we learn vocabulary and still memorize them and use them?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. You shouldn't memorize lists of vocabulary. If you just have a list of vocab with translation, that's not helpful. You need to memorize a word with a sentence, inside of a sentence, with a context. And so what I recommend is something like there are a lot of ways, but one example is Youglish.com. I can type that in, that I've recommended before.
Yeah.
Youglish.com. It's a really great resource. So I just typed it in there in the comments. I don't know if you want to pin that so they can see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when you learn a new word, type it into this website, and it will find like hundreds of videos on YouTube that have used that word, and it will play that sentence. Start to learn the word that way, where you hear this same word used in 10 sentences, you'll be able to use it. Instead of just a random word, words don't have meaning without context. And so you need it in context.
Learn in context. That's good. So learning in context, guys, is a really important thing to learn. Don't learn words like separately. Okay, just learn them in context. When you learn them in context and you use them, this is going to work for you. Okay, other questions? Other questions, guys?
Yeah.
I see. I'm sorry if I skipped one of your questions because I can't actually reach all of your questions here.
Yeah, there are a lot that are further back.
Yeah, I'm going back now to see if there is any other questions.
One, I'll see this one.
Yeah.
How can we understand Americans speaking quickly?
Yes.
Yeah, that is hard. But again, practice. Kind of work your way up. So some Americans speak faster than other Americans. Some people speak, we say, a mile a minute.
Let me just interrupt you for a minute. Sometimes we are in real time when we are in reality, and an American or a British is speaking fast. In this situation, what should we do? Should we stop and ask him to slow down, or because most of the people, they can't do that. Actually, they can't like ask someone else to speak slowly. It is a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
What should we do? Ask him to repeat, or
I would say kind of a big thing is what you do before then, and so practicing when you are by yourself by kind of helping, like watch a YouTube video, and YouTube is great because you can slow it down to 0.75 speed. You can make it slower. So listen full speed, listen slower, then listen faster. That's kind of beforehand to help train you for it. But yeah, when you're live and you don't understand, just ask them to repeat it. Just say, could you say that again? And a lot of people, even when Americans are speaking with each other, for example, you have a younger guy who's speaking really fast, and there's an old guy. The old guy says, what was that? The young guy will, normally the second time, he'll say it a little slower. It's a normal thing because we understand not everybody speaks the same way. So normally if you just say, could you say that again? They'll normally say it a little slower. If you still don't understand, then you could say, I'm sorry, I don't really understand you. Could you say it a little slower? And people will be okay with that. So don't feel bad. That's a normal thing to ask for.
Yeah, it's a normal thing, yeah. Actually, that's a great topic to cover in my next video.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. How to deal with
some great videos.
With a native, how to deal with native speakers when they speak fast. What are some expressions that we can use to I work on that actually.
Yeah.
So other people are asking about music. Is music a helpful way, or is it just a waste of time?
It can be helpful. It can be helpful to an extent, but I wouldn't use it as the main thing because music is different than speech. You don't go around singing to people. You go around speaking. And so a lot of times in songs, they use phrases and words that we wouldn't really use when we're speaking. Like maybe they'll use an old word, or they'll kind of create a new word that people don't use when they're speaking. And then words are also kind of drawn out a little more. So it sounds a little different. But it still can be helpful as one part. Again, that's always the thing. It's one part of the equation. And so there's a really great website I recommend called lyricstraining.com.
That's a good
if
one.
You guys use that. Yeah, lyrics training. Even if you just type for that in the App Store, it's great. Do you want to explain a little of what lyrics training is?
Yeah, lyrics training, they give you like, sometimes they give you some exercises to give you like a song, which you know, and they leave you like a space and they test you if you know the lyrics. You have some, and you find like the lyrics of all the songs. Yeah, and it's great because it lets you do it for music is the main idea, but it also has a section now for like movie clips. So that can be helpful for speech as well. Interesting. So you can kind of try out different ones. One kind of word of caution, a lot of the videos have images that some people would think are not appropriate and don't want to see that. So you have to choose categories of ones that you think will be more okay for you, or just cover up the video. So just to be ready for that, so you're not surprised. Yeah, sure. Guys, we still have 5 minutes. If you still have other questions, 5 minutes to end this live, please. How many American accents? American accents. Yeah, good question. There are a lot and a little, like in a few at the same time. There are a lot, but they're becoming less and less common. With the younger generation, most people have a pretty general standard accent. And so even like places like Texas, where Texas is known for having a strong Southern accent, my cousins live there, and they say there's a much smaller percentage of people who have the Southern accent in the younger generation. So it's becoming more of one accent, or maybe more so like 3 accents that are very easily distinct or easy to distinguish. There's the general American accent. There's, like I mentioned before, the Southern accent, and the African American vernacular accent. Those 3 are the biggest ones. All the other ones are just kind of small things. In the new generation. In the older generation, maybe you would see some more differences, but they're becoming less common. So that's one of the good things about the American accent. I meet somebody from a different state and I don't know where they're from. I have to ask them because we don't know. It's not like Arabic where you know, oh, he's from Jeddah or he's from Agadir from his accent. We don't know unless they're from the south. But of course they're close. These accents are close to each other. They're very close. So Josh, thank you so much for joining this. We were like we agreed on making like half an hour, but now it's 1 hour. It's almost 1 hour, and actually it was amazing. It was amazing talking to you. Yeah, it was awesome. I'm really glad that we got to do this. Great to get to know you a little more, and to meet all of you in the comments. Thank you guys for all your comments. Sorry for the ones we didn't get to respond to. I was looking at them, but we didn't get a chance to interact with all of them. Answer all of them. But Josh, we hope to see you guys. Go and follow Josh. He's got some really interesting contents, and he's teaching you stuffs every day about pronunciation, right? Pronunciation, something about grammar, expressions, vocabulary, some tips, right, about learning English. So he's making some great stuff, actually. Go and follow him, please. And don't forget that this live will be saved. Okay, I will save this live. Okay. So here is. So you can just, guys, type at the top of the live. You'll find his account. Go and follow him. And I'm looking forward, actually, just repeat a live now. Next time next time you start the live. Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be nice to do that in the future. So yeah. That'd be awesome. Yeah, maybe next week, next weekend, if you're free, we'll fix that. Yeah, we'll have to figure something out. So that'll be cool. Yeah. So sure. Yeah. So guys, that was it. Don't forget that we will save this live and you can rewatch it again. Any last words, Josh? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, just kind of what I said at the beginning. Again, you've heard a lot of things. Now you just have to do it. Do something. Something is better than nothing. So again, just say, today, I'm not going to go to bed until I've done 1 hour of anything in English. So do that. You won't learn all of English in one day, but every day is one step in a long race, and you'll make it further. So, and you guys are doing great, because so many of you are writing in English, and that's awesome. So.
Yeah, that's great. And still, I expected that some here will get frustrated from the fact that we're speaking mostly English. We're speaking 100% English. But I was amazed that many here are like, they watch the live from the beginning to the end, and they're commenting,
that is amazing,
putting questions and stuff. So I'm really impressed, guys. I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
Keep on. So the fact that you're watching this live and listening from the start to the end, this makes me happy. Actually, to see you watching. Thank you so much. This live is saved. You can rewatch it again. Write me comments again, and go and watch Josh. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much. Awesome job. You have some awesome videos. So check out Quick English as well.
Thank you.